radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Wednesday, March 9th, 2022. We are live from a bunker. 68 days into the new year. Only 297 days left. That's right. We're in a bunker in the middle of nowhere. A total undisclosed location. But it is beautiful in here. You have no idea. You have no idea. I think you do. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer, and Unnext Networks. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking? How you doing? How you doing? Tonight, right here, tonight, very special guest, Richard Dolan. Richard Dolan returns to talk about our world on edge. Tomorrow night is another Fader night. It's Thursday. Tomorrow night's another Fader night. My foot's all tangled up in my headphone cable. Tomorrow night, Fader night, open lines all night long. And tonight it's Richard Dolan. And I'm gonna warm up with this. Richard and I talked today, I'm going to say 2 hours. 2 hours. Talking about our world. Holy crap, man. Passionate. Let me tell you how much we talked. Started off in the backyard. Came in the house, put clothes from the washer into the dryer, still talking, did all of that, started a fresh load in the wash, which is still talking. Came in, did some other stuff, went outside, went in the front yard. I pulled trash cans back, still talking. Went into the garage, had to do a couple of things in there. And still talking. Then I had to go and pick up some dry cleaning and get in the car. went to, still talking, went to 2 different mailboxes, picked up and dropped off some shipping. Still talking. Went to the dry cleaners, picked that up. Came out, still talking. And I went to another specialty. It was a bakery. I had to stop by there because they have great bread. So still talking. Did all of that. Got home. with groceries, dry cleaning, still talking. Went back in, dropped everything down, put this down, and then walked around the house for another 45 minutes. I'm like, dude, I'll see you tonight on the show. And we just laughed and hung up, but very passionate. And we got a lot of jazz in, too, by the way. We probably did 30 minutes on Miles Davis today. But very passionate, and I'm very excited to have our good friend back on the show tonight. And so much is going on. And here's the deal with, we talked UFOs today, too, as well. But he's a historian. He's been studying politics and geopolitics and world history and governments. And I mean, that's his thing, right? And wow. So when I have questions, or I just want to have just like an intelligent conversation on these subjects, call Richard, and because he knows his stuff. He's been doing this his entire life. And just get him started on it because you learn, but maybe he picked up a couple of things from me today too as well. But it was just one of those conversations. And it was a warm-up for tonight. And I'm very excited about having Richard on the show this week. And, I've called it, man, the World on Edge week here on Fade to Black, and it's been a great week. And tonight we're going to close it out. Well, close it out tomorrow. Closing it out tonight with Richard. So get ready for that. He'll be with us at the bottom of the hour. All right, follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow me right there at JChurchRadio. All right, hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Hashtag F2B, and I'm looking at the sandbox right here. There's a Richard Dolan GIF. Can I play this? Can I play? What's up with this? Somebody's got, okay, won't play. I'll check that out later. And there you go. All right, so hello to everybody listening and watching all around the world. I mentioned Good Girls. Oh, this is a great series. And Renee sent me this article. Good Girls didn't get picked up for season 5. Season 4 is airing right now, and that's it. So we don't know how the story ends, and this kind of bums me out. And, last on NBC's ratings, dead last, on all of their scripted drama, comedy drama, last place. So they didn't get picked up. And it's billed as a Netflix series, but it's not really. It's an NBC series. And I'm just wondering why Netflix just didn't pick it up to do a season 5 or a half a season 5, something to wrap the series up, and I'm kind of bummed about that. But anyway, I'm at the end of season 2. So I've got 2 more seasons in front of me. But such a good show. Really enjoying it. And then Renee sends me this press release today. I'm like, Renee. And she titles the email, Renee, not so good news for Jimmy. I'm like, oh, man, what's this about? Yeah, she was right about that. Let's get to the breaking news. A legendary volcanic rock in Japan associated with an ancient evil vixen demon has split in 2. While geologists assure that the occurrence is natural, so they say, others are convinced that the chaotic fox spirit has been released to cause havoc. According to Japanese social media, an ancient dark force associated with an evil 9-tailed fox has been released through the splitting of the Sessho Seki, or killing stone. The legends say that the famous killing stone is so powerful that it kills anyone who comes into contact with it. Now, after almost 1,000 years, the geological terror has been found split in 2. In Japanese mythology, the evil 9-tailed fox demoness took the form of an attractive woman called Tamamo no Mae, who was part of a secret plot to murder Emperor Toba, who ruled Japan from 1107 to 1123 AD. Man, that's a That's not that long of a reign. Until the recent splitting of the volcanic rock, it was believed that the fox demoness was trapped inside the killing stone. It has now split in two. Well, a man was arrested here in Southern California at the San Ysidro port of entry last week after border officers found, wait for it, 59 live snakes and lizards hidden in his clothing. After his arrest, Jose Manuel Perez, 30 years old, said the reptiles were his pet lizards. Use some air quotes there. Investigators say that they are the latest commodities in a long-running wildlife trafficking ring based in Oxnard, California. The live specimens contained in bags included 3 dwarf boas, a Uribe false cat-eyed snake, whatever that is, a Pacific Coast parrot snake, and 4 conehead lizards. Yeah. Scientists have found and filmed one of the greatest ever undiscovered shipwrecks 107 years after it sank. Have you seen the photographs of this? It's crazy. It's the Endurance. That's right. The lost vessel of Antarctic explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton. It was found at over the weekend at the bottom of the Weddell Sea. The ship was crushed by sea ice and sank in 1915, forcing Shackleton and his men to make an astonishing escape on foot and in small boats. Video of the remains show Endurance to be in remarkable condition. You should see it. You can read Endurance on the back of the ship. Video is incredible. You need to check it out. Now, even though it has been sitting in 10,000 feet of water for over a century, by the way, it looks just like it did on November in that November day when it went down. I was distracted by Richard's text, and it's pretty funny. Its timbers, although disrupted, are still very much together, and the name Endurance is clearly visible on the stern. It's absolutely incredible. Somebody pop that up. I want to retweet it. Who is going to post the pictures of the Endurance? Not snakes. Let's get to pictures of the Endurance. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. One of my favorite actors today. I think he's great. Oscar Isaac today is 43. Ex Machina, right? Star Wars. Isaac is 43 years old. Oscar Isaac. Actor and OG Fade or Not, Kerr Smith is 50 years old. Man, we haven't had Kerr on the show in a long time. Miss hanging out with Kerr. I almost called him today, and I thought, man, it's his birthday, and, he's going to get all those phone calls. So I'm going to call him tomorrow. But you remember Kerr from Dawson's Creek, Charmed. He's the principal at the high school in Riverdale. Kerr Smith, today, 50 years old. Guitar god Robin Trower today is 77. Our dead guy's birthday today is Ornette Coleman. 1930 to 2015, died at the age of 85. Ornette was a jazz saxophonist. He's a violinist, a trumpeter, and a composer, known as a principal founder of free jazz, a term that came from his album, Free Jazz, a collective improvisation. His pioneering performances often abandoned the chordal and harmony-based structure found in bebop, instead emphasizing a jarring and avant-garde approach to improvisation. His 1960 album, Free Jazz, at nearly 40 minutes, was the longest recorded continuous jazz performance to date. Maybe his greatest work, and at the same time, his most controversial. It's an amazing album. His album, Sound Grammar, received the 2007 Pulitzer Prize for Music and he is one of the most important and controversial innovators in music history. Ornette died of a heart attack at the age of 85 in New York City on June 11th, 2015. Happy birthday, Ornette. On this day in history, 1997, rapper Notorious B.I.G. is killed at a stoplight in Los Angeles outside of the Peterson Automotive Museum. Unsolved. Fader fact. Okay. This is one of those fader facts. This is one. There's one every day that just is mind-blowing, and you got to go vet it. You got to go and check it out. This is vetted and is a fact. Two teams competed to design the iPhone. Okay? Two teams. One was dial-based hardware. The other, touch screen. It wasn't until the iPhone reveal event that, on stage, Steve Jobs showed the world who won by deleting the contact of the losing designer, Tony Fadell, with a single tap. And that, ruthless, Steve Jobs, ruthless. And that is your Fader fact. Tonight we welcome very special guest, Richard, according to this text, it's Richard Bleepin' Dolan. He wanted to correct me. He returns tonight to talk about our world on edge. Lots to talk about. Tomorrow night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. And with that, I need to hit this River Moon coffee. Man, texts are coming in. That's interesting. Yeah, good ones too. River Moon Wellness, River Moon Coffee, rivermoonwellness.com. Fade to black blend. Yeah, you blend. All right. Richard's joining us on the show tonight, and we've got a lot to talk about. And it got me thinking, and I've been mentioning this over the last couple of months, and there are things going on, and I've been thinking about things. How much of history's modern UFO sightings have been of secret military craft? How many? Now, let's take a serious moment to think about this. Let me hit this coffee. Did you take a moment? The first thing to consider is the most simple and obvious, and that is this. If you see something in the sky and you've never seen anything like it before, right? Would you understand what you're looking at? Think about what I'm saying. Listen, back in the 1780s, 250 years ago, back in the 1780s, if you had never heard of a balloon, which back then you probably hadn't, and suddenly you see one floating in the sky, what goes through your mind at that moment? Now, let's consider this, because on November 21st, 1783, the first free flight carrying a human occurred in Paris, France, in a hot air balloon made of paper and silk. Now, I am sure that many who witnessed that event had no idea what they were seeing. Think about it. What is that? It's called a balloon. It's a what? Now, think about it. Right? Obviously, no internet, no electricity. You've got newspapers, you've got things. How much do people really know? I mean, on the new, fresh stuff that's going on. Think about that. Okay? Now, let's push this more into a modern context. The Belgian UFO wave was a series of sightings of triangular UFOs in Belgium, which lasted from November 29th, 1989 until April of 1990. The wave peaked with the events on the night of March 30th to 31st, when one unknown object was tracked on radar and 2 Belgian Air Force F-16s were sent to investigate. Now, no reports were received from the public on that date, but over the next 2 weeks, reports from 143 people came in, all describing a black triangle in the sky. Now, the sightings weren't just confined to Belgium. There were reports of black triangles in the UK, elsewhere in Europe, and of course in the United States. Now, going back to my original point, if you see something in the sky that you've never seen before, what would you think? Right? Black triangles in the sky. What are you going to think? Now, a black triangle, anything flying like that, a black triangle zipping around, just doing stuff in the sky that doesn't fit into anything that should be up there. A plane, a rocket, a helicopter, or a hot air balloon. Now, of course, I'm stating the obvious here. We all have our thoughts on what the black triangles may be, and most of us don't jump on the ET origin, or at least not directly, and I get that. And let's not forget what happened in the Rendlesham Forest 10 years before Belgium, right there in the UK. Descriptions of that craft feel black triangle-ish to me. Seriously. Coincidence? Maybe. Probably not. I don't know. But, and there's always a but, right? But I've been seeing things lately that if they were seen anywhere else in the world by someone who had no idea what they were looking at, they would probably lose their minds. You see, out here in the Mojave, I'm not sure that anybody cares or pays attention. Why? Well, because this stuff up in the skies every day and every night. And people out here are used to seeing the craziest stuff imaginable flying around. That's right. That's what they do out here. All the time. And I would venture to guess that someone looking up and seeing something has probably actually directly worked on the craft in some capacity, right? One thing I've noticed and I've gotten quite used to out here is sonic booms. It's pretty much every day. It's every day. Yesterday, 2 of them in the morning, about 5 minutes apart, loud, not that far away either. And the craft that caused the booms, well, I didn't see them, but I didn't look for them either. It's just another day out here. Like, for real, for real. Sonic booms going off, I don't even react now. Yes, I'm shooting videos. I'm taking pictures. But I'm just not posting them. Why? Well, 2 reasons. The first is that if I just started posting stuff, right, and most people would have no idea what they're looking at. And they'll jump into some conclusions, just like I stated earlier. Think about that. And second, and most important, is that I don't want any issues with anybody. Like, of the government kind. So think about that. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, right here, we're going to talk about all of this and how this may disrupt actual UFO research. Think about everything that I just said. Richard Dolan joins us tonight. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Tomorrow night, Thursday, Fader night. Open lines all night long. On the Game Changer and UnX networks, Race Hobbs. Race Hobbs woke me up this morning with a phone call. 7 o'clock in the morning. Just like, dude, that was it. That was the start of my day, Raise Hobbs, the UNX Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back after this short break with Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Stay right there.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the unxnetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the unxnetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UNX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time.
It's new.
It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Dolan is with us. Tomorrow night, Fader night, open lines all night long. You know, I got to Richard needs to come in here on a Thursday night and answer my phones. That's what he needs to do. He needs to be my call screener for a night. He's back with us. We're going to be discussing our world today, all of it, a world that is on edge. He's one of the world's leading researchers and writers on the subject of UFOs. But even more importantly, he completed his graduate work at the University of Rochester, where he studied Cold War, U.S. Cold War strategy, European history, international diplomacy. Studied at Alfred University, Oxford University, all the places that I didn't go. I went to, I applied at Valley College, dental assistant, and got rejected. But Richard is here with us, and his weekly Fireside Chat video podcast with his latest thoughts is over at Richard Dolan Members. Everybody needs to go and visit there. He is currently featured on all of the great television series, including Ancient Aliens, Hangar One, UFO Files, and, of course, the new feature film, The Observers. I would like to welcome back to Faded Black, Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Richard Bleepin' Dolan is here. How you doing, man?
Hi, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.
And here's the deal, Richard. We talked music today for 90 minutes, right? We did. And tell me, you got the urge to go and listen to some classics. What did you do?
Well, I did not. We had a nice conversation about Miles Davis.
Yes, we did.
Courtesy of you. You've been getting into Miles lately.
I've been getting into Miles.
Getting back into Miles Davis.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Yeah. He's amazing. I didn't listen to Miles yet, not today. I did listen to. Oh wait, you haven't asked me, so I'm not.
Okay, wait. What was the last thing you listened to music-wise today, Richard?
The last piece of music that I heard today was actually Jimi Hendrix, "All Along the Watchtower."
Whoa!
Which is not too shabby.
Whoa!
It's got that great. Actually, my favorite of all the Hendrix solos. I think that's my favorite one of his. Yeah.
There's a lot of magic in that track.
Yeah. But I was jealous because you got so much into Miles Davis lately, and you were just telling me about all the Miles albums you've been listening to, from Kind of Blue right on through Bitches Brew and everything in between. I was like, Miles. I was saying to you, I think Miles is like Hemingway. He's like the great restraint. He's this absolute, doesn't play an extra note ever, and every note he played was beautiful. He had such a great sound and a great sense of musicality, just unmatched. I didn't tell you one thing.
What's that?
I actually spoke to someone years ago who worked at a New York City pizzeria for which Miles Davis was a customer.
Shut up.
Yeah, so she didn't meet him in person, but she talked to him on the phone because he would call in his orders. And he was like, "I want to get a pepperoni pizza, some anchovies on the side." That's how he sounded. He was like, "This is how Miles Davis talked at the end of his life."
Did you know how he got the voice? Have you heard that story?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so he had some nodes on his vocal cords, and this was in the 1950s. Okay, so he goes in for an operation to remove the nodes, and they tell him, the hospital, successful operation, everything's good. They said 7 days, no talking. Okay?
Oh.
That lasted for about 3 days.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if it was Coltrane, or if it was like Dizzy Gillespie, one of the guys that he was playing with at the time, in this, it was a big band, lost his mind in rehearsals and started. His favorite word was MF. Right, that was it, man. That was his favorite word.
Yes.
And whoever was telling the story said he dropped like 5 MFs. And his voice never came back.
I'm going to blame it on Coltrane because he always did drive Miles Davis crazy.
I know. And that was it. That was it. That was it. And
Wow.
And they went on to say that he was so embarrassed by his voice that he wouldn't talk during concerts, and eventually it came out.
I feel bad now for saying that thing. Yeah. But it was a true story. It was a true story.
Well, you know what, though? Listening to Herbie Hancock or anybody that's around today and listen to them do their impressions of Miles, it's done with enduring love, But
of course,
But that's what happened, man. He couldn't.
The guy was a true, like everyone says genius so frequently, but he really was a musical genius. Amazing guy to listen to.
Well, and so I didn't tell you this today. We went back, got an artist and things to do some redesign and some stuff for the website and banners and things. And I was looking at the cover for Kind of Blue last month, maybe 6 weeks ago. And I'm like, man, I just love the fonts and the colors, the soft blue and
cool,
gray, right?
Yeah.
And then I thought about like Steve McQueen in the 60s and that whole, font thing and like the Ford GT40 with its blue paint job, that medium blue with the orange stripes, the Gulf Oil GT40 was such a class, and it was just a representative of that whole cool period. And so I said, I want our website and I want our imaging to look like this, and that's what we did. So we've been
do the Miles Davis thing.
Yeah.
I think I would say that is the greatest jazz album of all time.
Such a great. It probably is.
I mean, most jazz snobs would probably say that.
I would say.
How do you?
You know what? If you just go and you ask most jazz purists that have a grip, that know what's going on, and you go, what's the greatest song? They're going to go, so what? So what? So what? So what changed the world? And for
those who don't know, that was the first cut.
That was the first cut. Ba-doo, 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 doo. And,
awesome.
And what a great
They're
band.
on YouTube, which still has some good things. There's a great clip of Miles on TV, like American TV, like 1959, something like that, 58, with Miles Davis, John Coltrane, and his quintet, but without Bill Evans. Evans was gone by then. But you see Miles and Coltrane on American TV. And like they are treated like the introduction is like the great Miles Davis, and it's out there. People should check it out. And you see like Miles does his solo, Coltrane's in the background, and then Coltrane does his solo, and Miles in the back having a cigarette, talking to someone else on TV.
Yes, and the cool. I've watched that show so many times. So what Richard's referring to, it's in black and white. It's in film too. That's the other thing. It's not videotape, which is great because you get that whole smoky black and white vibe, right? So it's
just beautiful to watch.
It's beautiful to watch, right? And the recording is perfect. Anyway, so Coltrane steps up and the cameras follow Miles, and he goes backstage. And he's standing behind the band smoking a cigarette, man.
Yeah.
And listening to Coltrane going off. And it is just I've watched that so many times. Man,
it's a different world.
Do you miss
different world?
Do you miss not the period, but do you miss like bands? You know what I mean? A band.
Yes. I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
It was a certain moment in history. People, we take so much for granted. When if you look at American history in the 20th century, so take it from the end of the First World War. So let's start with the 20s, because that's really when it started, where you'd get like the jazz bands, like a young Louis Armstrong.
Sure.
And playing King Oliver and those guys. What you had was a situation in the society where all of these people were like, I want to play music. And there's this incredible outgrowth of musical genius in the entire country. And it was in Europe as well, to a lesser extent. The action was really in the United States for at least certainly, 50 years of the 20th century, where from the 20s maybe and then take it into the rock era, where that that feeling of creativity continued, where everyone was like creating a band. And in rock history, you got these amazing musicians, guitarists and drummers and singers and songwriters. It just like all was happening. What happened, I think, as you got toward the 21st century is that the corporations actually just took over everything. And the groups became a product to sell with teams and marketing and everything else. And I think a lot has been lost. I don't really think it's not that none of that exists anymore, but I don't think it's anywhere near what it was in decades past.
Yeah, I miss it. Have you? And you bring up the corporate side of this, and I'm gonna weave this into UFOs, believe it or not, or at least asteroids. Have you seen the movie Don't Look Up on Netflix?
No.
Oh, Richard.
I don't know. I mean,
okay. All right. You know what?
I know it's supposed to be good.
We're going to end this conversation now. I'll just bring you back tomorrow night. You can answer the phones.
I'm thinking like,
well,
there are movies like Tracy will tell you, like I throw things at the screen when I watch movies. I get mad. Like I don't like being preached at, and that's a movie. I know they supposedly hit all sides, whatever. I just feel like it just seemed like a freaking preachy movie.
No,
I don't like preachy movies.
It's a comedy. It's a comedy, top to bottom, front to back. All right. But that's not even my point. It's that the point that I'm making is they have a pop star in this movie, played by Ariana Grande, really well. And that's what a pop star is today, is exactly the way that she's portrayed in there. And so that's the problem.
No, I know it's satire. It makes fun of things. I'm sure there's elements of it that I would probably like.
Oh, you would love it, man. I know you too well. I'm telling you right now.
All right, maybe.
And the graphics are like the cover of Kind of Blue. So there you go. You got that going. Now
we're gonna cut you off from Miles Davis now. You're doing a little too much with the miles.
Too much with the miles.
Cutting you off.
Your timeliness of the conversations that you're having right now over at Richard Dolan Members is pretty strange, because I've been speaking about this, for about the last 2 months, about my own personal experiences and how I've been holding back. Some of this I discussed with you earlier today. And I actually want to address a few of the points and get your take on this. I guess if there's an overarching title to this, is that UFO research may be in danger for a lot of different reasons. What motivated you to jump into this right now?
Well, I've been thinking about this for a while, and all during the last 2 years of the revolution. That's what we're living in. We're living in a global revolution. And even before that, you could really see the writing on the wall. Like you could see it even 5 years ago when YouTube started to
censor,
gin up their algorithms to change things in favor of corporate players, which they've been doing ever since. Like you could just see it. And but yeah, what's like, people have to understand, like I've been talking about this theme for a while, and I can't let it go because I think it's too important, which is that we are living in a first ever global revolution. It is a top down. This is not a people's revolution. This is an elite driven revolution designed to revolutionize human society. I firmly believe this, and it's directed, by the Dr. Evil, the people out of Davos, and the financial elites, and we all know who they are. And they dominate national governments pretty much mostly around the world. And they are pushing through an agenda to turn humanity into one big anthill. That's what I believe. And so in the context of that, we are seeing now with an unbelievable swiftness the imposition of, we used to talk about censorship. I don't even know what we're going into now. Like we're into a global censorship where everyone, or most everyone, is afraid to say anything. They're afraid to speak their mind. And if you've got an audience, you're definitely afraid because, you try to make your money on the major platforms, and we know what the major platforms are doing. And so it's just bad. The current war going on in Eastern Europe and Ukraine is another example where you are not allowed to offer a different opinion than what people are being hammered at 24/7 in terms of the propaganda. And so it's the same with UFOs. There's a safe ufology that's clearly emerging, and that's not my ufology. There's a UFO research. And I'm not here to criticize the people who have been able to get the UFO subject greater public play. Lou Elizondo. You and I both know him. We both had long conversations with him. Or Chris Mellon, or the folks at TTSA, formerly TTSA. Like, I do believe that their motivations have been good in wanting to get the UFO subject out to the larger public. But I also know their attitude, and maybe they're right, has been, well, if we're going to get the corporate media to look at us, or if we're going to get the political institutions to look at us, we have to be careful. I'm like, yeah, we all get that. But what's happened is that the conversation in ufology is really mirroring what's happening in the rest of our world, which is that certain things are safe to talk about and certain things just do not ever get discussed. In terms of ufology, we're at this basically kindergarten level. Is there something out there?
Yeah, I got to get inside of your head real quick, and then let's continue. We have we have the rest of the night. When you say certain things are not to be discussed, give me an example.
Well, anything having to do with the illegal criminal nature of the cover-up, for starters.
Okay.
All right, so we can't get into that.
Right.
Like you can't talk about the fact that even federal government agencies don't seem to have a whole lot of control over this. If they do, who the hell are they? DOE? Okay, sure, DOD. But you're talking massive privatization of this secret. I've been talking about this for years. Mm-hmm. I'm not the only one. So that's one thing. But then you could even go further than that. There's a whole bunch of red lines that just, acknowledging the conspiracy is definitely a big one, though, because we are now in a world in which you are literally not supposed to talk about conspiracy theories, however those are even loosely defined with ever-changing goalposts. So, just imagine, you're not supposed to talk about conspiracies or election fraud or anything else, even though we've always talked about those types of things in American history, but now you can't. Well, can anyone actually imagine the United States government officially saying, well, don't believe in any of those other conspiracies? Well, the UFO one, yeah. Only the biggest one. what is bigger than the UFO cover-up? Really?
The answer is none.
Get down to it. Arguably nothing.
Right.
It's certainly one of the biggest. And so, no, I just don't think there's going to be any voluntary way by which the United States government is ever going to acknowledge a real cover-up, a real conspiracy. It just won't play well in the current environment. So that's one red line, but there's a whole bunch. The UFO subject is an incredibly uncomfortable subject. Are we going to get into a discussion about acquisition of exotic technology or exotic bodies? The exotic tech argument, that's a world-changing thing right there. What's the tech that you've got? Do you have really functional metamaterials? Do you have a power plant? Do you have something that functions on, 0 point energy or something equal or better or what have you? These are world-changing technologies, and they are certainly, we're not even close to broaching those subjects.
Do you see a possibility of regulation or legislation or control of those subjects? Where
not anything that'll be positive.
No, but that's not what that's not where I'm going. I'm talking about censorship of
regulation.
Of our views. Making it criminal to discuss this or to censor.
Yes, that can happen. Absolutely.
You think so?
No question.
Obviously, not this year.
Think of all the things 5 years ago that seemed impossible.
That's right.
And that we're now living in.
That's right.
Who would have thought you would have to have a QR code to take with you to travel around the world. Now, America hasn't made that universal, but they're getting there. They're following all the other countries. So no, we're moving at the speed of light into full-blown digital dictatorship, as one individual recently described it. Digital dictatorship. I think that's about right. So no, nothing is off the table. Nothing. These things, criminalize elements of. I mean, look, the Department of Homeland Security just earlier, like 1 month ago, classified misinformation essentially as a form of terrorism. They put out a memo in the beginning of February, a bulletin, I guess I should say, which talked about what they call dis, and malinformation, MDM. And that was actually the number one thing that they listed as factors contributing to the current heightened threat environment, as they called it. The proliferation of false or misleading narratives, which sow discord.
So yeah,
so
you think
we're already there.
Right. So to put it into the UFO context, I put out a video. I have a guest on the show. I have Richard Dolan on, and I show an image, and I talk about anti-gravity technology that may have been backwards engineered from a crashed craft, a retrieved craft, and you discuss evidence that supports this that could fall under the classification of misinformation or disinformation. And
absolutely, it could.
Really?
By their standards. I mean, think of all the things in the last couple of years that were said to be misinformation, which, oh yeah, by the way, turned out to be true. Like quite a few things. I mean, with this wackadoo pandemic that we're living in. So, no, anything can be classified as misinformation. Half the YouTube videos I put up have some kind of freaking disclaimer on them, Wikipedia references or whatever.
Yeah, they're
anytime
coming
you
at
talk about abduction, well, there goes the Wikipedia reference right on my YouTube channel. So no, they're constantly, we're living in a nanny state already. The little finger wagging school marm that tells you can't say this, can't say that. So that's already the case. And I mean, the UFO subject has been so fringe for so long. It's easy for them, the power elite, let's call them, to ignore it or laugh it off. They've been able to do that for many years. So it hasn't, it's not like it's a kind of an immediate threat. But I think that will change because we're at a point now where in the last 4.5 years, we've seen a definite opening in public discourse, at least on the likely reality of UAP, as they want to redefine it. So I think the more real that becomes, it could be. I mean, it could be that there will be an attempt to control the narrative. I guess it really all comes down to how successful are people like myself and others who really care about looking at the criminal nature of the cover-up. How successful are we in alerting the public to that? And if we are successful, if we do raise enough of a ruckus, I mean, so far it hasn't happened, but if we do, then yes, I think the hammer will come down. And one thing that's also not discussed is who are the people behind this whole phenomenon? There's a massive infrastructure, and it's not just U.S. black budget tech. That's big. That's important. But one of the things that I love studying in the UFO field, especially lately, because I am working on volume 3 of UFOs and the national security state. So I'm reading a ton of just forgotten UFO reports, among other things. It's fascinating. One of the things that I've really just become absolutely almost obsessed by are these reports of 2 a.m., 3 a.m., someone going outside their house and seeing a black triangle hovering at like 200 feet over their neighborhood. Silent, almost invisible, but they can see it. These reports are so frequent. And it's not just over the United States. They're in Australia. They're in Europe. They're in other countries around the world. This is like, what would anyone be doing at 200 feet at 3 a.m. over a neighborhood, dead silent? sometimes shining a light down.
Come to Palmdale. You can write your own report.
All right. Well, the point I'm making is that this is a very massive clandestine operation. This is not a phenomenon. This is an operation.
I agree.
And it requires tremendous resources of someone and whatever equivalent of money. So who are these people and what are they doing? And then furthermore, since I'm on a little bit of a roll and you're being nice to me about this, for years and years, I went on this assumption that, well, aliens had to look like aliens. They had to look like grays. But I had to stop that. I got way too many reports directly from people, other reports that I've read from good researchers of beings that look totally human. They look just like us, but they're not like us. Who are these people? What are they? And we're often afraid to talk about it because it seems crazy. It's like, invasion of the body snatchers, whatever. But the fact is, when the data keeps coming at you over and over again, what do you do with it? Do you just ignore it? I can't ignore it anymore. So and I wrote about this in my last book about a year ago, The Alien Agendas, the human-looking beings. Who are they? I don't know fully who they all are. I think there's more than one group of these. But the fact is, that is a factor. And so these are uncomfortable questions because if there's a genuine disclosure event, for years, my old friend Steve Bassett would say, well, all disclosure really means is that the president says that UFOs are real. Well, all right, fine. But that's actually just the bare beginning of the conversation that has to follow. I tried writing a book about this over 10 years ago with Bryce Zabel, and that was a nice adventure for us. But the fact is that opening up disclosure as a topic is a can of worms beyond anything that is imaginable.
It's endless.
And so these are red lines that are not being asked in our current environment today, and I don't think they will be.
Let's take a break. Let's get this in. Richard Dolan is our guest. We're talking about our crazy world today. We've got a lot to go through tonight. You stay right there, kids. This is Fade to Black on the UNX and Game Changer Networks. Race Hobbs. I am your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back more with Richard after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, The X.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hi, Race Hobbs with the X. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you have an interest in unexplained phenomena like ghosts, Bigfoot, and UFOs. And by now, you know that we have our own X blog, the UnX newsletter, and the UnX magazine quarterly. But most of you don't know that we have started our very own paranormal conference. And this year, for safety, this 2-day XCon will be virtual, so you can attend from the comfort of your home. XCon presenters include Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, Margie Kay and Preston Dennett, Lisa Martin and Wayne Lawrence, Lee Spiegel, Debbie Zagelmeyer, Dan Terry, Kate Grabowski, and Ray Hernandez. There will also be a live paranormal investigation by the Riverside, Iowa Paranormal Team. So come hang out with us in the safety of home as we set out to explain the unexplained Friday, May 13th and Saturday the 14th, 2022. And tickets are on sale now. Go to unxnetwork.com. That's unxnetwork.com.
Hello, I'm Katie and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Bleepin' Dolan is with us. If you ever get a chance to hang out with Richard, I suggest that you do. And get him to start swearing like a sailor. He's polite on this show. He's polite, but there's nothing like that first time. You're like, whoa, Richard. Do you remember, I want to get back to current UFO research, but I'm not going to say where, who, when, or what. I'm not going to go there. Let's not do that. But there was a moment when you and I, we had a crowd around us, and we had a couple of shots of vodka, and you turned to me and said loudly in front of everybody, "Okay, church, let's talk about Bob Lazar," right? and everybody leaned in, and you were very passionate. You were very passionate.
I can't remember half the stuff I say. I can't remember.
I was like, okay, let's go.
Good?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was.
Well, I'm
sure I didn't trash him.
No, you didn't. You didn't. But the point being that you can be very passionate. You can be very passionate
from time to time, on occasion, around the edges. It's been known to happen.
So back to it doesn't take much with YouTube and Twitter and Facebook to throw a shot across the bow. And to cause you specifically, any creator out there, content creator, to back up. And I'm going to say this Richard, last month, I got this strange email from YouTube, and it said, we pulled down a video of yours, and if we, well, anyway, if we do it one more time, you will lose your channel. And this was the email.
Do you know why they did it?
Well,
did you know what
so
the offensive thing they
so I went and I looked at the video and I was like, what really? Let me tell you something. I went and deleted probably 10 videos, just to be on the safe side, you know. And I've got 1,600 videos right on the account. What did I? And this video specifically, 4 years old. 4.
Whoa! Yeah, going back, retroactive laws.
Yeah.
The thing is, people love to. I understand, like when people get angry at celebrities or public figures who seem to be chickening out or backing down. Hollywood, of course, is famous for that. They love to pile on. But of course, I think a lot of people realize there are people who make their living doing this. Like, you know, this is a business model. YouTube, this is the genius of YouTube. It's become a profitable, or at least a viable business model for content creators.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows them to actually to do genuinely often good work and to get paid for it with the ads and so forth. But of course, YouTube now has all that power, and YouTube is owned by Google, and Google is owned by the CIA. Oh, wait, I shouldn't have said that. What is that? The cocaine importing agency. So they're owned by the CIA, which started them basically in the 90s, and which is a fact. So we're in a situation now where all of us content creators, like, we have to diversify our income if it's possible. But if it's not possible, they got you. Can I say balls on your show? They got you by the balls.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If I remember when things were going crazy 4 years ago, right? And channels were getting dropped left and right. And I had to
when our democracy was under threat 4 years ago because of the way the election turned out. That one, not like today.
Well, see, but here's the deal. When all of that was happening, and to some of it was even to people that you and I know, and I started to get these emails and mornings going, church, UFOs are next. Right now, you think it's about this and this and this and this, but you watch, and I thought, no, really, and I'll tell you why, Richard. Mm-hmm. The foundation of YouTube. The idea behind YouTube was freedom of thought. And it was out there for the people that were watching these videos to make up their own minds if they bought into it or not. And that one of the great things that I used to enjoy about YouTube is watching these crazy conspiracy videos, these crazy whatever, and watching them, sometimes laughing, but just going there for the crazy conspiracy theories on battles of extraterrestrials out in the universe and taking over the world, and reptilians running, the planet today, and who the Illuminati was and how this is involved. And you know what? That was the foundation of YouTube.
I think the foundation of YouTube was to grow itself as a business model, and it used freedom of thought for many years as the best engine for doing that. But we have to keep in mind, we're in a revolution. We are witnessing a revolution. Google and YouTube are part of that revolution. It's really that simple. And so what is this revolution? It's something that's going to transform our legal system, our economic system, our technology, our access to data, our very livelihoods. We're looking at a global economic transformation that's already been happening for a long time. You've got a prospect of the world leaders looking at the masses of humanity as like, what are we going to do with these people? There's not enough jobs for them. We're going to put them all on a UBI, have them sit around, eat nachos, and watch YouTube videos. All right, well, fine, but you've got to have them watching things that are going to keep them dull and this isn't just a business model. It's a business model, but it's a political control model.
Mm-hmm.
And I think YouTube is just turning itself into TV.
Now,
slowly but surely.
Sure. I just got a YouTube ad on my television. It's, are you ready? I'm sure you've seen the same thing. I think it's $70 a month for YouTube TV. $70 a month.
I literally have not watched TV. Well, I mean, I have Netflix and I've got Amazon Prime, so I'm part of the problem too. But I don't have cable TV.
No, this is their streaming platform with
$70 a month for YouTube TV. Why the hell would someone do that?
Well,
what do you get out of that?
They carry live local channels. Well, the point is, though, you're right. I mean, they're turning this into a TV network, and they want here's I think the point.
It's all corporate controlled.
If UFO,
which means intelligence community controlled,
right? And if UFOs start to fall under conspiracy theory, and under the same classification as vaccinations or COVID or election fraud or whatever if UFOs fall under that, there's going to be no effective UFO research that is going to end up getting posted.
This already is happening. So a little over a year ago, Google has a unit called Jigsaw, and they have their own website. I'm looking at it now. A safer internet means a safer world. So Google's Jigsaw unit is about making the internet safe. That's the words. Everything's got to be safe. So one thing that they did a little over 1 year ago, I'm not making this. I wish I were making this up. Google Jigsaw approached Rand Corporation.
Ooh.
Like the biggest defense think tank probably in the United States. I mean, they've been around since the 1940s. They've done work for the CIA, for the Defense Department, like high-level stuff, right? So Google goes to them and they ask a simple question. How can we better detect the spread of conspiracy theories? And then they say at scale. So like across the web. Not just using their like thousands of sensors to get into your social media, but using algorithms to detect conspiracy theories. Like, how do you do that? And Rand was like, oh, wow, we would love to work on this problem. And they did. And they were so proud of it. It's published online at Rand Corporation's website called Detecting Conspiracy Theories on Social Media. And one thing they did, this is like evil and brilliant in equal measure. They were very proud of their system for detecting conspiratorial thinking, and they tested this algorithm or this series of algorithms on 4 different groups. One group was the people who believe that COVID started in a lab. God forbid, that's a conspiracy theory. There was a vaccine conspiracy theory in there. I'm trying to remember, and just not getting vaccinated, I guess. There was the white replacement conspiracy theory, so white people being replaced by immigration and what have you. And then the last conspiracy theory they went into was UFO. They used these 4 groups to test their algorithm and to detect what they consider to be conspiratorial type of thinking. So Rand was already on top of it. Now, they completed their study. They gave that back to Google's Jigsaw, which I've no doubt Google's like taken that and tweaked it, in a million different ways to make it even better. And I'll guarantee you they're employing that algorithm right now to squash conspiratorial thinking as they see it. And it just so happened that Rand, on their own initiative, said, yeah, let's look at the UFO people. That's one of them. So the elite, the establishment, they already see the UFO subject as conspiracy theory. And the phrase conspiracy theory has been so effectively slammed and maligned, in such a way that even like YouTube commentators, not the mainstream people, but like the cut below, like they're all afraid of conspiracy theory. Oh, well, this isn't a conspiracy theory. It's like, will you just stop with that? Stop embarrassing all of us by talking like this. Conspiracies happen every day. We live in a world of conspiracies. We're going to pretend all of a sudden that powerful people who are actively transforming the world are not acting in a conspiratorial way? Well, how do you want to define conspiracy? You can, have the most minute sliver of a description, and this is how you place conspiracies. Fine. But like for real people, conspiracies are simply actions that are done on the sly, because they have to be done on the sly, because if the rest of the people knew about it, they'd be angry.
Well,
and because they're doing these on the slide for their own benefit, for power and for wealth.
The classic definition of conspiracy, like if you're going to be charged with conspiracy in court, right, you and your buddies, it's two or more people conspiring to commit a crime.
And I would disagree with that, because I don't even think, to get real, a conspiracy has to be technically illegal. I think that's a bit of a mistake we make. Well, there's a lot of legal loopholes in this world.
Sure. And the pop culture definition of conspiracy, now it's broad. I mean, it just includes just about anything. And you're right. I mean,
right. They've gone so far I agree with you totally.
Is in a classic sense, is the discussion of a conspiracy, not plotting a conspiracy, but discussing a conspiracy out in the open in a public forum, that in of itself with an algorithm can be misconstrued anyway, and then suddenly you're a victim of censorship because of an algorithm and the words that you choose to speak.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. And yes to what you're saying. And additionally, I guess I would add, there are obvious political reasons that certain types of so-called conspiracies are going to be targeted more than others. Obviously. So it's only the bad kinds of conspiracies that the powerful are concerned with. It's great to believe in all kinds of other conspiracies that they want you to believe in, but you can't believe in the ones that they don't want you to believe in, the ones that they're actually engaged in doing. Like, stripping away all of your rights right in front of your eyes and calling it safety. That can't be a conspiracy. You can't be allowed to talk about that.
Well, and just like the crackdown on so many forms of media right now, for whatever reason, and let's just flag this video a few more times, right? Flag this show.
Yeah, I feel bad because I don't want to be part of your problem here, but
which is going to happen.
Trying to be.
Yeah, I'll get that email tomorrow. Don't worry about it, Richard. Is once this starts happening to the UFO community, then you effectively stifle the conversation about UFOs and ET and contact and disclosure pretty effectively, because if you start taking away social media and our ability to communicate, that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and take us back to the 1980s, 1970s. Like the UFO version of watching the TV show. What was that? Big Full House. The height of insipid pre-internet TV with the blow-dried hair.
Full.
What an awful show. Let's just
was that the one with Dick Van Patten? Was he the
I didn't watch it
patriarch?
enough to know. I threw up too many times.
Who was the patriarch of the family? Was that? I'm trying to think. Was that Full House?
I'm sorry that I brought this up now.
But I went over to Jigsaw and let's just flag this video one more time. So I went over.
Jigsaw, are you there? Good.
Yeah. I went over and pretty interesting. A safer internet means a safer world. Upholding technology as a force for good. Controlling
creepy AF.
Yeah, completely. Disinformation. As disinformation campaigns become more sophisticated, we're building a new technology to strengthen our collective defenses. Learn more. Censorship. Most of the world's experiences some form of online censorship. We're building and scaling tools to enable people to participate in the open internet.
Yeah, I love how they twist, they take that and turn it around. They pivot on the word censorship. They're great.
toxicity.
They're really smart.
Yeah,
really smart
it's really well done. You remember in Starship Troopers, they used to run in the movie. They ran these commercials for the internet. And want to know
about
more?
This internet thing? I think I should invest in it.
You know
you were
what?
telling me about this earlier.
It's going to be big. I'm telling you.
This internet thing.
I know it sounds crazy.
The second time today I've heard about it.
Yeah. Well, listen, Richard, I know just the idea of it seems impossible, but it's going to connect the world, and you'll be able to talk to somebody in like Zimbabwe.
You know, I think we're pissing off half the listeners. They're like, come on, you guys talk about the serious stuff, man.
But let's get to reptilians.
Stop goofing around.
But in Starship Troopers, they did exactly what this Jigsaw website is doing, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. The insects are attacking our world and killing humans from Earth. Want to know more? Click here. Right? That's what this is. This is too funny. Toxicity.
They're really smart.
Toxic.
They know how to put their message out.
Toxic language online silences important voices. Want to learn more? Click here.
Yeah. We'll silence the bad voices so you won't be. You will read nothing and be happy.
Yeah.
You will learn nothing and be happier.
Oh, Dick Van Patten was the dad in 8 is Enough. It wasn't Full House.
Some olden days.
Man, you gotta love the Fade or Nots, man.
But this is what's happening to our internet. It's going to become like that. I think honestly, it'll be another version of insipidity. Maybe not quite as bad as the 80s. Okay, but they definitely going to dial it back, dial the freedom back. Too much freedom. And too much freedom.
You know what? It's so funny because if we take a really close look at who created the internet, was a bunch of punk rock, purple-haired freedom thinkers.
After they inherited it from DARPA, but yeah.
But the idea, right, was this sharing of knowledge and cultures from around the world, and we're going to put all of this.
Yes, it's totally amazing.
And all of those that were there in the beginning, they now own islands in Fiji, right? They're disconnected. They've grown up. They just let this thing run amok. You know, it's not
for about 20, 25 years. Let's say through the 90s till 2010, 2011, 2012. It felt free.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so for a little more than 20 years, the internet was unbelievable. It's still unbelievable, frankly. I mean, everyone uses it for everything, every minute of every day, practically. So it's this all-encompassing environment that we're totally dependent on, and it's the dependency, of course, that they've got us now. You know, it's embedded in every aspect of our life. It's not just about information; it's about maintaining the entire infrastructure of our society, and we literally cannot live without it.
We can't. It's our electricity, our water systems, our traffic lights, the shipping, the trucking industry, airlines, every single thing that you can think of. Your power plants, your water conditioning plants, the geolocation of schools of fish in the middle of the ocean, right? All of this. Every aspect of our lives is now connected.
Right. But if you will permit me, I want to go back to why this all is perceived by the masters of our world, that they need to create a revolution to essentially create a global police state. But there's never been an opportunity ever before in all of history for rulers of societies to have the kind of information that is available now to the people who have this information. So all of our metadata, anyone can be minority reported, essentially, you know, behavioral predictive modeling on anyone. A book can be written about you or about me or anyone listening right now, easily, in which your behaviors are more predicted I use the Waze, the traffic thing, for getting through traffic. Mm-hmm. Waze now knows like my habits of driving, and it will tell me where I want to go before I even plug it in. Like, I never told you that. So they know our world, they know our lives, they know our psychology in a lot of ways, and better than we do. And that's not even including the coming generation of artificially intelligent algorithms that are going to be smart, like really smart. So the problem is there's just too many algorithms for the jobs, and there's not going to be enough people to fill those jobs. It's just going to have a society of people sitting around. And that's going to be a problem. That's a problem for any ruling elite. You can't have everyone sweep the floors or what are their – it's now in the past, there were always the doom and gloomers, the Luddites who were afraid that the machines are going to take all the jobs away. And it didn't happen. Did not happen in the past. That is true. But I know there's a lot of smart economists and people looking at things today, and they don't agree with that any longer. There's a very large contingent of people who believe that we're going to be putting ourselves out of jobs. And I think this is true. Truckers, that's going to be on the way. Oh, those poor Canadian truckers, that was their last hurrah, trying to regain a last gasp of freedom for their great nation, their once great nation. They're going to be out of a job in 5-10 years, a lot of them. Google's going to take their jobs away, or at least many of them. And so it will go, and not just for physical labor, but intellectual labor, increasingly. I'm a big chess fan, and I've talked about this from time to time on my site, but there's a chess program called AlphaZero. It's a learning program. No chess grandmasters programmed it. AlphaZero just learned chess, just like this is a Google thing too. And there was AlphaGo, I think.
AlphaGo. Yeah. Yep.
They both did the same thing. They both completely mopped the floor within hours. Within hours of learning, AlphaZero was sicked against the greatest chess engine in the world called Stockfish, which is better than Magnus Carlsen, the world chess champion. And AlphaZero just clobbered it.
Magnus just got beat by a 16-year-old kid from India. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
16 years old, man. Well, and AlphaZero, the Alpha program, all you have to do, this is all they do. They just give it the rules.
Exactly. And it just learns.
It learns from there.
Fast. So now, one thing that I'm kind of into speculating about, there's a real program out there. It's called the Sentient World Simulation. I learned about this. There's a channel called Truth Stream Media. I love these guys. So anyway, they did a documentary, and they talked about this Sentient World Simulation. So what is it? It was first discussed in 2007, so about 15 years ago. This is a real thing. So think of it as a digital simulation of the entire world. So for military purposes, it's quite useful. If you're a military and you want to invade another country, you run your simulation like, okay, if we do this, what are they likely to do? But not just militarily, but economically and socially, and they put all of these factors in there. So it can be an incredibly useful tool if the algorithms are accurate and good. Well, I've had 15 years to tweak it, so I'm sure they're pretty good. But I think of something like the Sentient World Simulation being used for a lot more than just military dominance. We're in a world of hybrid warfare, which is control over social media, control over all sorts of forms of information. And I can easily see a Sentient World Simulation being used. You can you give the rules of chess. Well, there's rules of social control as well. Maybe they're not as hard and fast as the rules of chess, but there are definite guidelines. There are strategies. There's tactics. You give that to a highly artificially intelligent algorithm and say, if we enact this new draconian law on vaccine mandates or passports or whatever, what's the likely reaction going to be? What's the best way that we can do this with as little pushback? And who will be the people we need to worry about? Who are going to be all of that? All of that information is already probably available right now.
I just looked it up.
There'll be a little red flag next to your name or my name.
I just looked it up. I got to take a break. Let's get our break in. You ready for this? Synthetic world environment currently being used by Homeland Security and the United States Defense Department to simulate crisis on the U.S. homeland. There you go.
Bingo.
We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse. Now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit JasonMartell.com. That's JasonMartell.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Bleepin' Dolan. He's right here. Tomorrow night is Thursday night. It's Fader night. Open lines all night long. And Richard, I was just over in the chat room, and there's a character over there making it rain, like making it rain right now. And guess what? The handle, the name of this YouTube account is
what?
Dolan's Bar.
No kidding. I love it.
It's a bar in Philly called Dolan's Bar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
all right, brother.
Yeah, right. And they were like, come on, church, man, you got to tell Richard about Dolan's Bar. So one of these days, 2 UFO researchers are going to walk into a Dolan's Bar. Right?
Oh, that's going to happen. Philly?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, it's in Philly.
All right.
Hey, I've already picked out all the stuff for the menu and the drinks for the two of us. And trust me, it's going to be a good night.
We will make that happen.
We will make that happen.
That sounds fun.
One of the interesting things that I'd like to talk to you about is disclosure. Of course, you've written one of the definitive books on the subjects, but even when you and I sit down privately, this is something that we talk about. And what do you think now? And I'm talking about just the developments over the last 3 months, and now that the 2022 budget is officially now in action, where we are sitting. Are we actually going to talk about after disclosure in 2022?
I would be very surprised. I would not expect that at all. No, I just don't think so.
Why not?
I don't think we're in an era of government openness. I think we're in the opposite era. I think that, the fact that the United States government has made at least a perfunctory acknowledgement of UAP, at least in creating these task force and so forth, that doesn't, right now I've seen no evidence that this is other than just shifting the goalposts of the conversation just a little bit. 5 years ago, we were at a point where there was no acknowledgement that there were even unusual things that were not explainable. So we got past that. That was a hurdle. But now we're in this new era where we're in this enforced infantilization of the UFO subject, which is this, well, there's something out there. Is it the Russians? Is it the Chinese? We don't really know what they are. That's not believable. It's not credible. But it seems to me, I don't see a way that the United States government can ever put itself in a position where it is going to have to acknowledge that this is a genuine phenomenon that's absolutely real and not theirs. Because if you do that, you're going to start getting very, very close to too much explaining to the public. Because the whole thing about UFO secrecy is that it has corrupted our entire society and our establishment, and it's gone for so long that there's just too much explaining to do. And I just don't, this is a weird position. We're able to say there's something out there and we don't know what it is. But there's going to be a few other fallback positions. Like they might this year say, well, we've studied some unusual artifacts, but we have no conclusions. But then even if they do that, they're going to be pressured, or they may be pressured into saying, well, what are the artifacts? Let the rest of us look at it. And if you do that, now you're in danger of losing real control over the narrative. And at some point, even in our ultra-controlled media establishment, someone might be saying, well, wait a minute. Have you really just been lying to us for 80 years now? Because that's what it looks like. And there are a couple of voices, even in the establishment media, really one. If you want to look over at Tucker Carlson, he's been the only big establishment media guy who has actually occasionally been pretty good on UFOs. And, the questions could come out, and they're uncomfortable questions because they imply longstanding government deception and lies on a subject that I just don't think is a positive for the U.S. government to let out, because this isn't just some ordinary subject. This is a monumental subject. It's easy for us to forget it. Like, those of us, we study UFOs, we think, oh yeah. But honestly, the unveiling the UFO secret is not like admitting any other kind of long-standing criminality. I mean, maybe it's up there with the Kennedy assassination or 9/11. Let's not forget about that. Or, yeah, COVID shenanigans. I don't want to get you in trouble, but those are the big four. Those three plus UFOs. There's probably a few others. But the UFOs are big, big, big. And, at some point, like, one question is going to start leading to other questions. It's like, well, how long have you known about this? Have you known about? Well, yeah, we've known about this a long time, but we try to avoid panic. Yeah, that's it. We try to avoid panic. Like that, I'm sure that there's all of these fallback positions, but we're going to have to fight for every one of those fallback positions. None of them are going to be handed over. I don't think any of them are easily going to be handed over. Or like, oh yeah, we've secretly tried studying this for years, but we haven't made much progress. Or, well, we've recovered craft or bodies, but no progress. That's going to be a tough one.
Do you think that Gillibrand? Well, do you think that Gillibrand and I'll throw Marco Rubio and others that
Rubio, yeah.
Both
of them are jokes posing as human beings. I'm sorry, but yeah, keep going.
But that's why I don't discuss politics on this show. But I will.
Well, discuss, a Democrat and a Republican, so equal opportunity.
Yeah, equal opportunity is this that. They, by putting her legislation in the budget, it is now in there. It hasn't been altered. It's actually in there.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely.
Well,
that wasn't Gillibrand. She didn't do that, obviously.
No.
You got the behind the scenes.
Yep.
The old TTSA network.
Yep.
Still doing their thing. That's right. They got that in there, undoubtedly. I'm giving some plausible deniability here, but undoubtedly,
do you think
that was their work?
It was Chris Mellon and
Yes,
Lou Elizondo and others. I have no problem
I knew
saying that.
I didn't know if he wanted that known or not, but
but here's
it's obvious.
Here's the point with that though.
Yeah.
Is Gillibrand and others trying to do what you are suggesting here, that is venturing into an uncomfortable position of having to answer questions, but now there are people in Washington, D.C. that do want the answers to these questions.
Well, actually, this is good that you brought this up, because this issue is this could potentially be the big UFO issue of the year.
Right.
Because what the Gillibrand Amendment is discussing is, I mean, on paper, everything's on paper here. So on paper, it's awesome. It's actually, this is a UFO investigative office, frankly, that, by the way, this is worded, should have decent funding and an actual staff to do investigations of not just reports that the U.S. military, by the way, considers to be valid, but beyond even military airspace. So this is to be like a genuine UFO, UAP, not just reporting center, but investigative analytical center. And that's how it is intended. So that is actually quite significant. Like, I'm not going to take anything away from it. The question is, will this actually happen? There are definite enemies against that amendment within the Pentagon and the intelligence community. So the real question is going to be, how successful will the enemies be at essentially kneecapping it and just knocking it out of commission before it has a chance to do anything? Or, better yet, put one of their own in charge of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just, bleed it dry. That's my best prediction for their strategy. They'll just put a really awful person in charge of it who won't do it well. And then 2 years go by and they're like, this didn't really work out very well. Let's roll it back into the Navy UAP task force or whatever.
Do we need a UFO czar? Like you, would you take the gig if it was offered to you? I'm being serious.
Yes, I would. I mean, if it were offered to me, I would do it. Yeah, sure, I would. On the condition that I'd be allowed to go public with all the BS that I have to deal with and all the obstruction that I'm getting.
Right. Because
I mean, I'm not going to go on to be a team player for Team Pentagon and just say, oh yeah, whatever you want. No, if I were allowed actually to do what I thought best, and what I think best, by the way, in case anyone's wondering, is openness on the matter of this phenomenon.
Right.
Total open. Then yes. Yeah, I would do it, but yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, the comment in Rubio's press release was an eye opener for me, which is why somebody like you has to be in there to be a UFO czar, because he said, for the first time, we're getting all of the intelligence agencies and all of the branches of the military to cooperate for the first time. This has never happened before. And I'm thinking, you honestly, when the Air Force says no, or the NSA says no, or we don't have anything, or the CIA, who is going to be there to put the pressure on to make sure that this information is shared? Because that's what the amendment calls for. But there's got to be somebody in there to call the shots to make sure that everybody's playing ball.
It's a good question to ask, like how much authority will the person who runs that department actually have to pressure, say, the Air Force? Chris Mellon wrote a great piece a couple of months ago on why is the Air Force AWOL? AWOL on the matter of UAP. He talked about a variety of Air Force sensor systems, many of them I had not known about, to be honest with you. He talked about all of these methods by which the Air Force has excellent data collection, which would presumably include information on UAP. And yet the Air Force, to his knowledge, when he's looking at the task force report from last year, he said, I don't think the Air Force contributed a single one of those. Why not? They have better sensory equipment in many ways than the Navy seems to have. They're not catching any UFOs? Which, by the way, the Navy only came up with a little over, I think, 144. In my spare time, I could come up with 144 military cases of the last just couple of years. Forget the last 20 years.
You could do that in 30 minutes.
You could
do that in 30 minutes.
It probably could. So they're not. So, but anyway, the Air Force. So if Rubio has got all starry-eyed over the cooperation of the services, I would love to see what the Air Force is contributing.
There was a comment. I wanted to ask you about this because this touches upon everything that we've talked about tonight. Chris Mellon pointed out in the article that there was a secure chat room where everybody was getting together in the Department of Defense to talk about UAPs, a secure chat room. And the Air Force came in and said, everybody in the Air Force out. You are not allowed to participate in that chat room. Now, it's wait a minute here. That's the exact opposite of what is supposed to be done. And the Air Force just feels so privileged that they don't have to play ball. They don't want to, and they're not going to. They haven't been, and that's what we can expect. But
this is an old story, by the way. When I first started researching UFO history, all the material in the 1940s and 50s, same thing. Air Force and the Navy were always at odds, constantly. And the Navy, the Navy is an old, proud institution, and the Air Force were these new upstarts. And the Air Force is essentially throwing its weight around with the UFO issue. Back then, there would be Navy UFO sightings, quite many back in the 40s and 50s, just like today. And I read several accounts, I should say, of Air Force people coming onto naval ships and angering everyone. Of course, these Navy guys like, get the hell out of here. But these Air Force guys, apparently, at least circa 1950, were authorized to take the UFO data, which briefly prompted the then Secretary of the Navy, a guy named Dan Kimball, to try to start the Navy's own separate UFO investigative branch, but it didn't go anywhere. I read all about Donald Kehoe's old books, but Kehoe had a good insight into all of that. He was an ex-Marine, close to the Navy guys. He had good information. So anyways, this is an old rivalry, and the Air Force has never really cooperated. In fact, in my own personal experience, I don't know about other researchers, for years and years, I've had fascinating conversations with Navy people about UFOs. Fascinating. Air Force, spoken to a few, they are tight-lipped. I think there's something in the culture. They don't talk about it to outsiders.
Now,
some of the retired Navy guys, they're a little different. They will.
Do you think that the efforts of Chris Mellon, like the article that he wrote 2 months ago about the Air Force, and then, of course, the most recent one last week that came out in The Hill, that obviously he's ruffling feathers, right? And he's trying to stir the pot there in Washington, D.C., not only Capitol Hill, but, the halls of the Pentagon. Do you think that the efforts of Mellon and Lou Elizondo are enough, or do we need a few more of them?
Well, I mean, more is always going to be better, but the people have to be well positioned, and Christopher Mellon, I think, is pretty well positioned. He's not formally, I don't think he's, operating at the highest. He doesn't have the ear of Joe Biden, I wouldn't think. That sounded funny even when I said it. I don't even know if Joe Biden has the ear of Joe Biden. But anyway, Mellon doesn't. But he does have some influence, I think, behind the scenes. Clearly he does. He clearly influenced the Gillibrand Amendment. But, more would be better. I'm guessing that there are allies to UFO openness within certain areas of government. I absolutely would guess that. I don't know the details of how that's working out, to be honest with you. I'm not privy to that. I think what's really needed, though, is a groundswell of people really caring. And part of the problem is the researchers, even people like me. Like, I don't think researchers are doing a good enough job to characterize the problem to the public. Or if we characterize it well, we're just not reaching the people. And I can complain all I want about the algorithms and about censorship, but basically, if my message is not getting out there, that's on me. It is my responsibility as a researcher to do my very best to explain to people that this is a serious matter. Mm-hmm. And in fact, we haven't even gotten into all of the depths of how serious this thing can be. This could be grave. The UFO problem.
How so?
Aside from the COVID, well, I like to play all these little mental counterintelligence games in my mind. Like, I wonder who these other beings are. Now, there's good evidence to think that at least one contingent has been overseeing or monitoring us, maybe a better word, monitoring us for a long, long time. Maybe for our entire existence as a genuine civilization. I think that's actually possible. I think, in fact, I think it's likely that there's been at least one advanced group that has been watching us. But my feeling is that for most of our history has been at a pretty low level. I mean, really, what could they do with us? We were, fairly living in huts, essentially.
Yeah, campfires.
Pocket. Yeah, so there wasn't much. But in the last century and a half especially, we've gone through a massive revolution. We've, discovered science and applications of science, and we've radically transformed our world into something totally unrecognizable, where we have genuine power now. I mean, we're on the cusp of massive breakthroughs in quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and weaponry, information tech. I mean, it's just astonishing. We're all living in this, and we don't realize how crazy incredible this is, and also unnatural. But that's a whole other thing. But it's transforming us into something totally different, basically a different species, certainly radically different. Like, that's all happening now. So do you think other species who have the ability to monitor us aren't aware? I think they are. They know we're about to leap right into their world. So I think some of them might be thinking, do we want to manage this process? If I were them, I might be thinking that. Humans have a lot of initiative. We're kind of aggressive, or at least we're assertive. We like to get our way. We've got some pretty interesting nukes and other types of weapons. And I'm not saying we humans are necessarily even the bad guys. We just are who we are. But if there are other species that don't like the fact that we might be rocking the boat, changing things up, do you think they might just have an interest in managing our society? Well, who are these human-looking ET beings that I keep looking at? You know, when people have encounters with them, I know you're about to hit a break, so I'm going to try to wrap this up here. Generally speaking, encounters with these human-looking beings are neutral to positive. So sometimes they seem positive, sometimes they're absolutely standoffish and neutral. So it's not like they're necessarily evil, but I don't know what they're doing. If I were them, if I were a telepathic, powerful alien looking at humanity running around as it is, I might want to get my hooks into this society and control it to my satisfaction. I know one thing. We're in the middle of a massive global totalitarian revolution right now. And I would like to know, do these other beings have any relationship to that? What if they do? Seriously. I don't know if we'd be able to do a thing about it. But I wonder, is it crazy for me to wonder? I don't think it is. I mean, the fact is we don't have a lot of information about this. And so as a result of that, in my opinion, it's a reasonable point of speculation. So there are some serious questions to consider. The presence of others, as I sometimes call them, here on planet Earth, undisclosed, they're not disclosing themselves either, involved in a massive operation, as far as I can see, every single day, every single night, doing what the hell are they doing? And we're in the middle of a massive revolution right now in which we're turning our society into, I don't know, the Borg. So yes, I'd like to know.
We'll continue this right after the break. Our guest tonight, Richard Bleepin' Dolan. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. On the UnX and Game Changer Networks, Race Hobbs. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, The X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UnX Media publishes non-fiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard, available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Bleepin' Dolan is with us. And right before the break, this is Fade to Black. Right before the break, a little bit of a recap. Richard, we were discussing an observation of us from extraterrestrials that potentially could be, very aged and going back for a long time. I don't think there's it's a numbers game, Richard. There are 40 billion Earth-like planets right here in our Milky Way. Not the universe, in the Milky Way. So the odds of multiple ETCs out there and with the knowledge of our planet, it's just a numbers game. And so certainly they know what is going on here. But I want to go back to your comment about control. There has been a variety of messages which suggest to me that there are multiple races that are here, because we've got the whole faction of contactees that say that they're here to save us and help us and work with us. There are others that say that they are here to change the atmosphere and the environment so they can come over and live without spacesuits. And then of course we have the reptilian agenda and everything else. So there's a variety of messages that address this, and are they all right? You know what I mean? Is there
they're not all right, because some I don't think they're all right, but I think some of them are right. I do think where my working theory at this time is that for most of our history, we were not besieged by the neighborhood, the galactic neighborhood, or the interstellar neighborhood. I think things were pretty quiet. And I think in the last century and a half, let's say, we started getting a lot more activity. And if you look at UFO sightings, all right, look, so we have many more people. There's many more opportunities for sightings to occur. But I think there are just way more sightings than there's ever been before. And I think that's because there's more of them that are here than ever before. I think that there's something big that's going on, and it makes perfect sense. Now is the time. And so I think we're bringing in the good, the bad, the ugly, so to speak. We're bringing them all in. I do think it's entirely likely that some other extraterrestrial groups or interdimensional groups, whatever they are, that they may be interested, or at least not overtly interested in harming us, and they might want to see things go well for us. Maybe passively. I mean, I don't know how active. No one's fixing our infrastructure. No one's fixing our world. Of course, maybe they can't. Probably they can't, really.
Is it the prime directive? Is it, you know what I mean, to go into a little science fiction comparison, but the prime directive, our version of it, is that what comes into play?
Possibly, but it might just be logic. Like if you're a super intelligent extraterrestrial race and you arrive and you see these human beings, let's say you're in the middle of Renaissance Europe, all right, so it's 500 years ago, and you see them, and you're like, wow, they're very, very primitive, but they got people like Leonardo da Vinci, and they've got other, like there's something special here, and if we were to do anything, we might screw it up. Like, what if humanity itself is quite valuable, and so it would be like this incredible plant or creature that you want, like if you handle it the wrong way, you're going to screw it up. And I think that would be the case. So it could easily be a situation where they just know, all right, we're not going to screw them up. We're going to let them develop and see what happens. So now we're at a point where we're now building a very, very interesting infrastructure. And let's say you're an alien and you see Earth and you're like, this is a really nice planet. Okay, there's a lot of other nice planets, but this is a very nice one. Like they got all this clean water and all of this genetic diversity and this, and some pretty good food if you've got the right body for it. Well, look, we're soon to become masters of genetic engineering ourselves. I mean, we're going to turn ourselves into some kind of future freak. I don't know what we're going to look like. It's not going to be like this. But the point is, genetic engineering is one of the utopian, dystopian things that we're moving ourselves into. So you got to assume that a highly intelligent extraterrestrial race can do the same. So would they think, you know what, maybe this is David Jacobs' thesis in a sense, we can essentially give ourselves human bodies. We'll keep the fundamental nature of what we are, our telepathy, we'll keep that, and maybe some other qualities. But it would be kind of nice to live on the Riviera and eat caviar and have these humans just do things for us. And plus, we can make ourselves live for 500 or 1,000 years. And maybe when we're done, we'll figure out the technique of transferring our consciousness to another body.
Well,
Earth could be a great place to live.
So you brought up, sentient world simulation earlier. And if we have that now, certainly E.T. has got their own version of that same AI software.
Probably way better.
Right. And they take a look at Earth and they plug in a couple of variables, right? Warp speed, faster than light, space travel. And they say to themselves, they're like 50 years away of visiting the stars with nuclear weapons, right? Right? That's got to be an inevitable view of this planet where they now know that we are that close. If we went from covered wagons to Perseverance and a helicopter on Mars in 100 years, where are we going to be in 50?
Right. Exactly. So I have to assume they've game planned this whole thing out.
Sure.
As well. Yeah. So, really what it may come down to is that we like to think that we have some agency here, and maybe we don't have any. That's not really fun for us to think about, but is it true? Is it possible? Is there really anything that we really even can do? I don't know. I mean, for me, I'll always believe in human free will, even though people like Sam Harris says, nope, no such thing as free will. I think that there is. And I think that there's still the possibility for human beings to be the authors of our own destiny. But let's not kid ourselves. I think we're dealing with a very, very powerful presence of other beings that are here. Now, the ones who are supposed to be here to help us, I mean, if I moved out to the West Coast, I'm sure I would encounter that idea much, much more than I currently do. You know, how are they trying to help us? By giving us star seeds, star children? What are these star children doing for this world, frankly? What are they doing to change, to make things less scary and actually to tangibly improve our world? I don't really see anything. Giving us a couple of nice, humanity, new age messages every once in a while. What's really happening? I thought we were supposed to ascend in 2012. Whatever happened to that? What happened to, we didn't have 51% positive karma, I suppose. I don't know what it was. I mean, the fact is, so much of this ideology, has permeated, and I would actually say poisoned, a lot of really solid thinking on UFOs and also evidence-based research.
Well, why
you can't have ufology based on wish fulfillment.
Sure,
and really, the whole ascension thing and a lot of that is just wish fulfillment, in my opinion.
But
fantasy-based utopianism.
How is it that we always want somebody to come and save us, right?
Well, it's our psychology, probably. I mean, we were born as helpless infants, and we had mom and dad there who were omniscient and omnipotent as far as we knew. So, right from the get-go, you're growing up depending on an authority. And by the way, we need the authority. Let's just get real. Human beings on their own without a higher authority, that's pretty messed up. And we see the world around us as a result. So we're not good without a higher authority. We can have the freedom, but we're going to need someone to wag the finger. And the problem is that that's now going to be a government, international financial elite that's going to be doing that. I just don't trust that. I'd rather trust my higher ethics. Thanks very much.
Oh man, it has come to the point now where I literally don't trust anything that I read or see anymore.
Well, certainly in Western media, you must not ever trust, and I mean, do not. It's just a machinery of lies, one after the next. It's so bad now.
It's east and west. It's north and south.
It's very much west. It's very much west.
Well, yeah, that's because we're here. That's because we're here. But if you go to China and you're going to tell me they have freedom of media, I don't think so.
No, they do not.
Okay, they don't in Iran or Pakistan or,
but what we're seeing right now, we're seeing basically the world right now. There's no good guys. This is like mafia wars. That's really what we got.
Yeah,
the West is one mafia family. Russia's another mafia family. China's another mafia family.
Sure.
And it's each mafia family trying to tell their people, oh no, we're the good guys. We're the good guys.
Well, see, and here's
true.
But here's the thing, Richard. I know that I have seen stuff in the sky that cannot be explained. Period.
Oh yeah,
that's it.
I want to get into this with you.
That's it. Right? Just stop right there. And then I turn to resources to try to find out and it is simply not there. And exactly. those that I'm supposed to pay for, right? Pay my taxes that are here for my support and my information gathering, are telling me that I didn't see it or that I'm crazy. That's nuts to me. And
you remember the story Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. So Alice chases after the white rabbit. She goes down the hole, down, boom, lands in this crazy world where everything's nuts. It's Wonderland. I feel like we live in Wonderland every time we engage in our major media. It's like that's actually like we live in this real world, but the media is so fictitious. It's so crazy. It's so psychedelic in its own way and distracting and manipulative. That's actually the empire of Wonderland. It just is designed. I've been thinking about this for decades. So yes, and in our reality, part of that reality is that the UFOs are real. Like that's actually a real thing. And yet it's denied. It's been consistently denied in our major media and all the respectable sources. Still in academia, they are just their heads up their asses for so long. They still cannot recognize that the UFO phenomenon is real and important. And our media is by and large the same. Even now, after these 4.5 years of relative openness, there's not any understanding in major media on this, and no genuine research makes it to them. So, they're hopeless, and it's getting worse, not better. You were asking in the last segment, is our political establishment able to move this issue forward? And I mean, there's a part of me that just wants to believe it can, I mean, I'm not going to lie. It would be nice if the this new office in the Gillibrand Amendment can actually get some capability, but I just don't think so. I've seen too many years of cynical power grabs by the military-industrial establishment, military complex. I just think they are probably going to find a way to disable that, and the media will continually find a way to marginalize the topics that it needs to. There's resistance. People in the United States and around the world, they are unhappy. They do know they're being spoon-fed BS all the time. They're aware of the deplatforming. They're sick and tired of it. All of that is true. You know what's going to happen? You watch this year. A couple of false flags will happen. I guarantee. I don't know what they will be, but they'll be dramatic. And there will be ways continually to manage the public, just like a good rider riding a horse. A horse has its own will. It's got its own. But if you're a good rider, you can ride that beast. And that's what they will do to us. I mean, if we're not careful. Look what's happened to these, I'm going to say, heroic truckers in Canada and now in the United States. They've been demonized by their own government criminally and essentially thrown into the memory hole. Canada has rescinded a lot of those mandates. They didn't give the truckers 1 ounce of credit. The disingenuous nature of those people is just beyond words. And we're going to see the same thing in the United States. They'll just find a way. The people in this world, we want truth. We really do want truth. And the things we got to do to fight for it. A lot of folks will have said to me for years, I'm sure they said to you, we don't need the government to disclose. We know the truth. And that's true. That's a true statement. Like, I don't need a United States president to tell me what I already know about the UFO phenomenon, and neither does anyone listening. But here's the sticking point. It's like that government is supposed to belong to me and to you and to everyone listening. They're supposed to belong to us, damn it. And when they lie, when they goddamn lie to me every day, every week about this, that's a failure. That's a betrayal. That's a betrayal of this system that, we're supposed to have. We're supposed to have a system in which our government responds to us, not the reverse. They are here to serve us. That's the system. And when they lie and lie and lie and they can't be responsible, and this is an important subject. This isn't just some trivial matter. This could be the single most important thing in the world.
Ever.
And no one is allowed to talk about it.
That's right.
There are other beings here in the midst of our own crazy global revolution. And we're not even having the most basic conversation publicly about it. You and I are having it here. That's good. A few scattered conversations here and there. But we all know how our society is operated. There's institutions of power. They manage the public.
I remember
and this isn't happening.
I remember I was hosting a panel. You were on the panel, and I know that you're going to remember this moment. We had 2,000 people in front of us, Richard, and I said, in my cocky way, I said, I'm speaking to the audience, and I said, I don't need disclosure. I've seen what I've seen, and I got booed. You remember that reaction from the audience?
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
and I'm getting booed. And that goes back to exactly what you're saying right there. My own experience, I've had my own form of disclosure. But you know what?
It's true, yeah. You know the truth. That's right.
That's right. But for everybody else, they need what they need. They have their families. They have their employers. There's
that
friends.
whole thing,
right?
There's people who've had their lives and careers ruined.
And so the only way that they can stand up for themselves is for them to be able to turn to them and say, "The president just announced this. See, right?" And
I'll tell you something else. Yes, you're absolutely right. Tracy and I are doing some research into abductions. We're going kind of deep. She's really going deep. I'm going almost as deep. She's going deeper. But we talk about this all the time. And the one, I don't want to throw out any stories here or give up any privacy, but one thing that we have definitely been noticing is there are abduction cases that involve serious trauma to people. I mean, we all know this, but when you encounter this with, just new person, then another new person, then another new person, and you just see how lives literally have been ruined by this phenomenon. It's happened. It's tragic. It's awful. Like it's heartbreaking is what it is. And these people, maybe nothing can fix what they've gone through, the terror that they went through with their abduction experiences. All right. Probably not. But you know what would be nice? Public recognition that this is real. That's a start. And that's probably not going to fix everything for them, but it's a start. And how many people have experienced real deep trauma? It often gets overlooked. I'll still never forgive Neil deGrasse Tyson for making jokes years ago about alien abductees. I was so mad. I was like, buddy, you should be way better than that. But it's not just him. It's lots of these dumb celebrities. They think they know what they're talking about, and they make a cheap joke about a subject that is serious, that has made people break down and cry for days on end. So, disclosure would be nice for them. That would be a nice thing. And it would be nice for the body politic in general because, again, we're supposed to have this thing called transparency. I love how Google Jigsaw likes to use it, or a lot of these other bureaucratic organizations like to talk about transparency. Yeah. Well, how about some real transparency? And, we recognize, look, there are military secrets. Okay. There are not every single thing at all times has to be out 100%. But this is a lie that's been going for about 80 years. It's a full human lifetime. And it has corrupted our political institutions. It's corrupted our media. It's corrupted all of our institutions of learning, or higher learning particularly. It's corrupted the people. Like when you live a fundamental lie year after year after year, like don't think that we're all immune from it. Everyone is affected by it. We learn this cognitive dissonance. And I just think it does a bad thing to societies, and I think it does a bad thing to people. So we have to figure out a way to get past this secrecy. And the problem is it's of such a deeply criminal nature. A couple of years ago, I was at the center of, partly at the center of the whole release of the Wilson, Eric Davis notes there at Thomas Wilson. And, I still harbor a lot of anger at the UFO research community for running chicken shit away from that because they're too afraid to take a stand, to say what everyone behind the scenes knows is true. Those documents are real. And if anyone who studies those documents can at least begin the process of understanding the structure of bureaucratic secrecy, at least within the DOD, because those notes written by Eric Davis have some decent description along those lines, and it will give us an idea. And if you look at those notes, you get to see that this is a difficult subject to break the secrecy on because it's been so privatized to a large extent. It's been privatized and made probably international. Who's in control of this? Like this isn't just something like, oh, well, Congress is going to just enact a law and we'll get disclosure. Is Congress going to get into Lockheed Martin or Boeing or any of the other special access programs that I guarantee you are totally immune from any congressional inquiry anyway? So we got our work cut out for us. And that's just the human criminal side of it. I still would like to know who these other guys are. You know, the Grays. Okay, we know that they're there. And they got the short Grays and there's the tall Grays, and they have their role. They're doing their thing. There's insectilin type creatures. They exist. There's probably reptilian type creatures. I think they exist as well. Like, what are they doing here? This is serious stuff. And then you got the ones that look human. And I realize someone who just may traipse onto your show for the first time and like they say like, this is crazy. Well, okay, fair enough. But the UFO subject has got a steep learning curve. So before you laugh it off, before you think you know everything, do a little bit of research, take some time and study this because this is serious. And yes, UFOs should be impossible. But guess what? Despite their impossibility, they're here.
Let's take our break, and we're going into overtime with Richard Dolan. And we're at the end of lockdown, 2 years. And Richard just texted me and said he wanted to do an extra 2 hours tonight. So, yeah, we'll keep this rolling, Richard. We'll keep this rolling. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse, now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit JasonMartell.com. That's JasonMartell.com. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Dolan is with us. So Richard texted me during the break. He said, Jimmy, can I swear like a sailor in the last break? I said, no, man, come on. We got kids listening to this show. He's like, damn it.
I know. I felt bad about that. You know what? This segment, if I feel the need, I'm going to say sugar sticks and fudge pops.
Yeah.
And that's how it's coming out.
What was
I'm sorry. I got a little carried away.
Did you do you see the TV series The Good Place?
No.
Okay, it's with Ted Danson and I think Kirsten Bell, I think is her name. Well, anyway, they're in heaven, and you can't swear in heaven. But everything is fudge.
Oh, I think I saw one episode of that.
Yeah,
1 or 2.
So she says fudge, and it's really funny. Anyway, talking about the big lie and having to answer to questions once disclosure goes down. In my opinion, and I want your opinion on this, if we're going to burn this planet down, right, and revolt because of some of the answers that are given, and some of the disclosure that is disclosed, would be this: if there is an even small chance that governments of the world, including our own, have had a limitless power source right? Of free energy.
Yes.
That right there. And I'm talking about feeding the children and the homeless and farming and heating and schools and electricity and the fact that I paid $5.79 a gallon for gas yesterday, right? Oh my God, right? Can you now? I think that would be like the biggest thing that they need to avoid. They can't answer to that. Wouldn't that be the one thing that they would have to face?
Well, it's been one big thing that I've wondered about for many years, for sure. The energy. There's got to be some kind of energy answer within the UFO mystery that's obvious. An object that can instantly accelerate from literally hovering to multiple thousands of miles per hour instantly. That requires an unbelievable amount of energy as we understand it. And, probably a very elegant solution. And I think, there's a couple of potential ones that people have been talking about. I was actually just really taken with a couple of years ago. I listened to Jack Sarfati on YouTube talk about the metamaterial and his own theory about how he believed it might have the ability to change the speed of light. And actually that the skin of the craft itself is really the key to the propulsion of UFOs, and that it would be able to soften the space-time boundary around the craft and so on. It was very interesting. I don't know if it's true, but I thought, wow, that's actually, speaking as a totally non-scientific, non-physicist, I thought, well, I wonder. But there's definitely answers. And I've always felt, 10 minutes after an official disclosure, someone's going to think like, oh, wait a minute. So wait, what are those flying saucers using to get around? And do we know anything about that? Can we use that in our own society? Like, that's a logical question to ask. And that changes our whole world. Assuming that it's clean energy, that it doesn't pollute, we're making that assumption. But in terms of the amount of energy that seems to be available, maybe it's a form of zero-point energy. What is the source is really the question we need to know. There's always the holy grail that we've been working on, which is clean nuclear fusion, not fission, but fusion. And that, if we actually could master nuclear fusion in a controlled way that's not an explosion like a hydrogen bomb, that would solve a lot of our problems in terms of energy, frankly, because that would provide a huge amount of energy, and it would just be incredibly cheap. And we would still use petroleum to create plastics and things like that. I mean, you have something to put in the Pacific Ocean, but we wouldn't use it for energy nearly as much. So it would be a help. So there are answers out there, but your point is a good one. Like, if it were discovered that the governments were lying and holding it back for decades and generations, I got off point there. But yeah, that would be that could be something that would anger people a lot. Yeah.
Now, would that be a petrodollar issue, right? That
yes, absolutely could be. Would be.
It would be, right? Because you can't stop the mechanisms that are already in place. Right?
Yeah, many people don't understand what the petrodollar system really means. It's simply the United States forcing other nations to buy their oil using U.S. dollars. And that was implemented
72.
After the U.S. went off the gold standard in 71. And then Kissinger makes a deal with the Saudis a couple of years later and basically says you're going to sell all your oil in dollars and you're going to get all your OPEC friends to do the same. And that's the petrodollar system. And that's kept U.S. financial hegemony ever since. It's been, about 50 years of that. And that the dollar is weakening. I mean, these latest sanctions, by the way, are going to just hasten the de-dollarization of the world, I think. But, it's been happening slowly anyway, but the U.S. still has dollar supremacy at this point in time. And a lot of it is based on the petrodollar.
And if they are sitting on this technology and the knowledge of what this could mean, which is free energy, so you're not going to be able to charge for it, or you would charge next to nothing for it because it's free.
Right.
that would need to stay suppressed as long as corporations control our energy sources on this planet, and until we run out,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
Until we run out of oil,
and also to control other nations, and had to create a global system in which, like, if you and I are sitting at the annual Bilderberg meetings or Davos at the World Economic Forum or whatever, and we're like in the big club, as George Carlin put it. Like, we want to stay in the big club, and we're not interested in losing our status and our power and our feeling of superiority about how we know how to run the world. Hell, we live for that. So, and we can rationalize all sorts of ways. We'll say, well, moving off of petroleum would be very disruptive, which it would. It would be disruptive. Like, there would be infrastructure, there'd be a big shakeup, and a lot of jobs would be lost, and it would even the best version of that transition would not be an easy one, probably. But over time, I think we can assume it would be a positive. And the only reason I say that is that there's a direct relationship in economics between financial growth and the cost of energy. So if energy is cheap, it's very simple. You'll have economic growth. If energy is expensive, it's very simple. You will not have economic growth. It's really simple. So if we could... And by the way, so what's that going to do for us now that our energy is becoming so much more expensive now? But if we were to transition to a new system in which energy is abundant and cheap, in theory, in good theory, I would say it would probably lead to significant economic growth and a lot of happy people.
The problem, and this is my rational side.
But the elites would lose their power. They would lose their power over the little guy.
This is how I look at it. Yeah, free energy is a great idea. Let's bring it out. But that would mean, I want everybody to listen to what I am saying here. That means every airplane is now obsolete. That means every freighter that has been built is obsolete. Cars, trucks, trains, obsolete. The distribution system of all of those energy sources is obsolete. Our entire infrastructure of everything that has put us into place has to be replaced. And that is a drag. We would grind to a halt. It would be
presumably
be
it would be replaced when a new system is ready to replace it, right? So
that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't happen overnight. It just wouldn't. It couldn't happen overnight. It's an impossible thing.
And the old system wouldn't die overnight as a result either, though. That's the thing. Like, a transportation system for global infrastructure, presumably, since there's going to be a demand for it, it will continue as long as there's an economic payoff for it. So, but the new system would spring up at some point and replace the old one with a new power structure, possibly, probably. It would be a shakeup, and if you're managing the system at the top, I think you wouldn't want that kind of instability. Why would you want that? You got things great as it is. Ride this horse into the sunset. And then when things are really, really bad, you roll in some of these new innovations perhaps. But I think that's what they've been doing all along. You just squeeze the last drop of oil out of the system. And for the United States particularly, because the U.S. dominates the world, excepting China and Russia, of course, and a couple of other nations. And by the way, they're getting more powerful, not less, vis-a-vis the United States. But the United States has its global hegemonic empire, and it's based on, in large part, dominance over sources of oil. At least it used to be. Russia's got a lot of oil. Venezuela's got a lot of oil. But America tries to dominate those locations as much as possible with friendly governments or troops. And if you control that, you have a lot of control over the world. And if they lose that system, well, things are up for grabs. And in terms of American power, I mean, America's wealth, America's infrastructure, we're not what we used to be. I hate to bring bad news, but our education system sucks. We've educated ourselves out of our leadership in the world, that's for sure. And I don't think things look very good when you look at how the youth of this society are actually being raised and trained. The answer is not very well. I don't think we're primed for asserting global leadership anytime soon. Once the infrastructure that we are latching onto,
starts to fall apart,
goes away.
Yeah, and so let's go back to your point that you made earlier, that there are beings among us that look like us that are involved. Are they part of driving this car off of the road? Is there a way to drive the car back on the road?
Honestly, I think at least some of them might be. Yeah. If I were them, see, I've got my own little pet theory. I wrote about it. I call it the fourth stage of humanity. I think it's a true theory. I think I'm right. Humanity, we've been around for a few 100,000 years. Most of that time, almost all of that time, we basically had sharp sticks and we stabbed animals with them. We were hunters and gatherers. And that's how we were for 300,000 years. We only developed agriculture and animal domestication about 10,000 years ago, roughly. Not long. We think of it as a long time ago. It isn't. It's very short. And that was our first revolution to go into stage 2, the agricultural society, the Roman Empire and ancient Egypt, all of that. And it was a great society. Like, we did very well with it. And then we moved to stage 3, which is science and industry, of another fundamental leap into something totally different. Started just a couple of 100 years ago. Well, we were all born into a very mature stage 3. Look at the 20th century, now the 21st. But now we're moving into stage 4, which is, let's call it the transhumanist stage. It's total genetic mastery. It's strong artificial intelligence. It's 5G, 6G, 24/7 surveillance of smart devices everywhere you go. No privacy, nowhere to hide. Total propaganda control over you, total information control. There's never been anything like this before. So it will create a society of total control, totalitarian control. That's happening. That's why the COVID revolution has been so critical these last 2 years. It's been the pretext for creating all of this, for making it go pedal to the metal. So if I were one of these aliens, I have to assume they've already gone through that. They already live like a beehive or an anthill. They do all of the indications. They don't really seem to be individualistic when you really talk to abductees. They have a kind of hive mind. Mm-hmm. That is what we're developing. Mm-hmm. And so if you're them, you might want to move humanity along into this revolution. At least some of them might very well. I hypothesize that these alien groups, probably all of them, are intensely conservative. And the reason I think that is, especially any group that has the ability to monitor us for a long period of time, that implies a tremendous stability. I mean, we can't keep our political, empires don't last, at least in human history. They don't last that long because we don't have the foresight. We don't have the planning. There have been a couple of long-lasting civilizations, ancient China, ancient Egypt, but most don't really have the kind of planning and stability. But I do think you could achieve it if you have your entire society run by an incredibly intelligent algorithm or series of algorithms. Very, very high-level AI that takes all initiative out of the people, so that all they're doing is just following the algorithm. I think that's what they have. That's my personal opinion. And that would make them intensely conservative, especially if they've achieved a certain plateau in their science and tech, which probably will happen to us too. You're not going to go up on the curve indefinitely. It's just not possible. Nothing in nature does that. It's not going to happen. So we're going to hit a couple of fundamental scientific principles, and we're going to plateau out probably at a very, very high level, but we'll plateau out. And we're going to be like them, and we'll be on some level of parity. We're probably already starting to approach it. We're not there yet, but I think we're going to approach it. And so when we do, we're going to be like them. That's my fear. I can't shake it. I mean, I don't want to be like them.
Do you think
I want to be like us?
Does that imply that we evolve past the arts? right? And creativity, comedy, and music, and everything else, and that part of us is a distant part of our evolution.
Well, maybe not. I mean, a lot of that stuff is just a product. Some of it, I think, will continue to be the product of a very infantile, I mean, literally infantile society. You know, when there's not really a lot of jobs for people to do, so they're just going to live in a fantasy metaverse, and they'll create all kinds of trivial diversions for themselves. So there will be that kind of a culture, that kind of a creativity, the kind that doesn't matter because it doesn't have an effect on anything. So I think that's a good. I mean, we're kind of moving to that already, but I think we're going to move into that faster in the years ahead. So there will be outlets presumably for people, but I think it's going to be different.
Well,
and it'll be one in which we're just totally controlled by the system. I mean, when you're plugged into that metaverse,
does conservative ET laugh?
I don't think that there is any single example that an abductee has ever said in which a gray alien has laughed or cracked a joke. I mean, if they have, I can't think of one. You know, there's none where you see them even bitching on their lunch break. You know, like, oh God, another
not
probe.
Again.
That's our humor. That's not their humor.
Right.
That's us. You know, having a cup of coffee. They don't do that.
But ET doesn't have Miles Davis. I mean, that's going to suck. I don't know if I'm going to jump into Project Serpo if I can have.
No, right. Presumably, well, if I read Serpo material ages ago, and that's a kind of a bleak world. If that's, you know, they live on a desert planet in these little huts. I'll pass. But
no Miles Davis.
You know, all of the aliens are like that. They're all like these. They're kind of annoying, even the good ones. Let's face it. Like the tall blonde holier than thou, and then telling us how sugar sticky we are. Like, you humans, you're not good enough. You have to change. We're wagging the finger, always with the finger wag at us. I'm just like, do you ever have fun, people? Like, none of them ever seem to. It really makes me wonder, like, what? I mean, you know, are all of these accounts true? I wonder this, you know, but when I go through the accounts, whether it's, I recently, a couple of months ago, I did a whole deep dive back into Betty Andreasen's whole amazing stuff that was written about by Ray Fowler. Mm-hmm. I believe that story. I believe Betty's story. And she's running into these very oh, so precious, you know, Nordic aliens. Like, they're just so, I shouldn't make fun, but they're just, everyone is just humorless. And, you know, in Dave Jacobs talks about the hybrids and, you know, the hybrid aliens that are being created. Basically, they're sociopaths, and they don't do art. They don't do music. They are trying now, apparently, like the latest iteration of hybrids apparently are learning to play music, according to what his people have said to him. But no, human beings, we do really amazing things. We've got this great thing happening. You know, our brains, the light bulb went on about 45,000 years ago. That's when I really think it went on with us. You start getting cave art that's amazing, and music, probably ritual. I personally think that our consciousness turned on when we discovered God, or you could say the idea of God, if you want to put it that way. I think that's actually what switched us on. And we've been kind of amazing ever since. With that creativity.
You mean when E.T. first made contact with us?
Maybe that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually hypothesized this in my book over a year ago. I mean, I still don't really know. Did they tweak our microcephalin gene that manages our brain growth and development? I mean, something tweaked it. And it does appear, according to geneticists, to come from an outside source. And it does appear to be within the range, potentially 45,000 years ago. Could be a little more, could be a little less. It would coincide with the so-called creative explosion of humanity. And if it came from an outside source, it didn't come from Neanderthals, and I don't think it came from the Denisovans. So who's the daddy? Maybe it is the ETs.
You're the best.
But maybe
Richard.
they gave us God, they gave us creativity. I don't know, or maybe we discovered God. I don't know what it is, but
the last question of the night is going to be when is part 3 coming out, and I just have to ask that. Did you write today?
I researched today. I pulled. What I've needed to do for this. It may be parts 3 and 4. Actually, it's just killing me, but it probably will be. I'm the creator of a very, very massive UFO chronology. It might be the biggest in the world. It's quite possible. In other words, what I've done is I've just compiled data from every source that I can imagine, and I have it in a series of massive chronological files, all with citations and everything, so I can find it. And I let my chronology slide for a couple of years earlier this century, and I am going back and I'm filling in some years. So I got to finish up 07, 08, 09, and 2010 and part of 11. And when I'm done with those, I will go back and I'm going to write this book, which I want to be awesome. It very well may cover, I may have to do the last 30 years in 2 volumes. It's too much. So I'm going to start with 92, and I may take it to like 2008, 2009, take it to the end of Bush, beginning of Obama, and I think that'll work out. And then I may do volume 4 from 09 onward.
What day,
that may change. I don't know.
What day of the week do you do your fireside chat?
Sundays.
So that's on Sunday, and then do you release anything during the week?
Yeah, usually. I've slowed down a little bit. Sorry, members of the website, but I try to do at least 1 or 2 other things during the week. Lately, I've been doing some really nice podcasts with Tracy. Those are just awesome. We both love them. And I will typically do either solo podcast or write an article or 2, something like that during the week. So I always do my weekly fireside chat podcast. Those are usually an hour or more. Those are typically video. I'll often do at least one, and most of my stuff I do is solo now. But I'll also I do interviews with people like yourself, so that keeps me busy, and I do my writing. And actually, I'm excited about sharing my research with the folks at my website, which I've been trying to do lately.
Thank you so much,
I'm
Richard.
back into it.
Give my best to Tracy, and be safe out there. And we'll talk first thing tomorrow. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Jimmy, it was my pleasure. And I want to give a big greeting to all the Fadernauts out there. And there's some Dolanites in the Fadernaut chat room. That's what we call ourselves. They're there too. A lot of crossover.
That's what I'm talking about. Dolanites. Richard Dolan, thank you so much, my friend. And be safe out there. And another great conversation with Richard. And that was a full 2.5-hour conversation. Thank you so much, Richard, and I will let everybody go. You just gave me the thumbs up. Thank you. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black of the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night is Thursday, Fader Night, open lines all night long. Until then, I want you to be safe. It's time to fade to black.